friends, it's Liv and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. If you are, hi, my name is Liv. It is so nice to finally meet you. So for today's video, I am bringing you guys an original book tag. The past few days, Niall Horan has released his second solo album called Heartbreak Weather. If you haven't heard it yet, I highly recommend it. I love Niall's solo music so much. So I wanted to take all of the different song titles and turn it into a Heartbreak Weather book tag. So what I've done for this tag is I've taken each of the song titles off the album, and for each song I have a prompt. So all of these songs on the album will have a designated book that goes along with them. I had a lot of fun doing this and I really hope you like it. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so first up we do have the title song off the album, which is Heartbreak Weather, and this is a book that left you teary-eyed. For this one I am going to say Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare, because honestly I sobbed for like the second half of that book. And if you've read it and you've read the epilogue, you know just how beautiful and how touching Cassie wrote it. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. Again, such a tearjerker, so this was definitely an easy choice for this one. Next up we have the song called Black and White, and for this one I wanted to keep it fairly simple, and so it is a book with a black and white cover, and let me tell you, this one was actually a lot harder than I expected it was gonna be. I was like, oh yeah, duh, black and white, that'll be easy. But it was, so I kind of took a little bit of liberty on this one. It's not completely black and white, but it is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. It's got a little bit of the gold here, and then there's like some red lining the letters, but other than that, the majority of it is black and white. So for this one, probably just, if it's more than half of it is black and white, you're good. And for the third title we have here is Dear Patience, and it is a book that was one of your most anticipated releases that you just waited forever to finally hold in your hands. And for this one I had to go with Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, which is the final book to the Throne of Glass series. This is the epic conclusion that I had waited for since Empire of Storms came out, and then the release date was pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, so we waited so long for this book. I actually made a list of every time I cried during this book, and I want to say there was like 11 times that I cried while reading Kingdom of Ash. But yes, after the years and years of finally waiting, this was finally in my hands. And the next up is Bend the Rules, and for this I want you to bend your own personal rules and pick a book that you thought was out of your comfort zone, but it's a book that you really did enjoy. For this I am picking Salt to the Sea by Rudis Pettis. I am not by any means a historical fiction fan unless it really has to do with like the magic and the fantasy elements of like back in the past, like kind of like a historical urban fantasy setting. That is really where I lie with historical fiction. So this one was really interesting to read, and especially because it was a true story. I tend not to read books of that nature because I know I'm going to cry, which was the case for this book. I definitely did. Most of these books I have cried with, even though the first prompt was the tearjerker. I don't know. Something about this book, again, really far out of my comfort zone. It was one that I heard a lot of people talk about, but I honestly did not plan on reading myself. But I finally read it, and oh my goodness, this is one that I would definitely recommend for a lot of people. I brought copies of this to a kind of like bring your favorite things and swap party because I was like, I really liked it, and I know that it's kind of a book that I think can appeal to everyone because it is something that happened in world history. But if you haven't read it yet, that is one that I highly suggest. Completely out of my comfort zone, but what a book. And next up we have Small Talk, and for that I wanted to go with a teeny tiny book, so pick a book that is under 200 pages. For this I chose Fox 8 by George Saunders, which is another book that I talk about quite often on this channel, but I also feel like I don't talk about it enough for the impact that it had on me. This is a book that I was required to read for my last semester of college last year, and it's a book written by a fox as a letter to humans about deforestation and how our habits really impact their environment. I did not expect to cry as much as I did because it's so cute. It is written completely phonetically because it is how the fox learned to speak human, listening outside of a person's window while they would read to their kids at night. And he's writing this letter about how much he loves the human people, but really what they've kind of done This is a book that will break your heart, but I definitely think it is necessary because it is completely relevant. So really small talk. It's only like 40 pages, so it is a very, very quick read. I read the entire thing out in my class in the voice of a fox. So if I can do that, it is definitely an easy read. Next up, we have Nice to Meet Ya, which is the first book you read by an author you really love. And for this, I picked Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. Believe it or not, I had never read a Maureen Johnson book before this one. I know she's got a bunch of stuff out, and she's an author that a lot of people have read, most likely like in middle school with some of her older stuff, but I never read a book by her until I finally heard everyone talking about Truly Devious, and I picked this up, and wowza. I still have not read the last book. I really need to get on that, but I absolutely love this book. This is one of my favorite books of 2019. It's one that I really found I couldn't put down. It was so gripping, and for like a first impression of an author, that's a pretty significant one, and I was so impressed. So if you are one of the few people I feel like who have not picked this up yet, please do yourself a favor and do so. You will not regret it. Okay, so the next prompt we have here is put a little love on me, and for this I am going to put a little love on you and pick a book that you think anyone would like. For this I am going with Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This book is honestly, I don't care what age demographic you are, like middle grade, young adult, adult, I loved this, and I really think it is something that has the potential for everyone to love. A lot of people think that this has the potential to be the next Harry Potter, and I do agree, not in the sense that it's ripping off Harry Potter necessarily, but it's really got that like that magical world that is kind of set within ours but not set within ours at the same time. And it's so whimsical, and I need to pick up book 2. I know book 3 comes out later this year, I believe. And I'm so excited for that one. This is one that I honestly, like, I carry this in my backpack everywhere. It was my commute book for the longest time last year. I just, every time I had like even like a second of free time, I was like, gotta read. It was absolutely phenomenal. So this is one that I would 10 out of 10 recommend to literally anyone. I feel like even if you're not a huge reader or a huge lover of this stuff, it's so fast paced that it's something that's really easy to get through. So all in all, Nevermore. Just, it's amazing. Honestly, I don't think I really thought about how long this album truly was until I made this tag, because there are quite a few song titles here, so we've got a little bit left. So the next prompt I want to talk about is Arms of a Stranger, and it is a book by an author that you have never read and has been on your TBR for ages. So still an author that you have never read a book from. And for this, I am going to pick Nevernight by J. Kristoff. This book has been on my TBR for the longest time. I still have never read a J. Kristoff book, but that's one of my goals for 2020 is to finally read a few of his books, get them under my belt, because I feel like he's an author that I would really like his writing style. I know Becca over at Becca and Her Books absolutely loves J. Kristoff, and I trust her reading taste because they're very similar to mine. So yes, this is one that I'm very excited to get to, but for some reason I just haven't yet, and I'm not quite sure why, but I know this is definitely something that I need to really finally get to read. Next up we have Everywhere, and this is going to be a book that you have seen absolutely everywhere but you have not read yet. And for this I am going to talk about Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I have mentioned in a few videos that I'm really excited for the TV show to come out for Shadow and Bone. I'm currently making my way through the Grishaverse, and as soon as I finish book 3, Six of Crows is going to be the next book that I start, no questions asked. I know a lot of people say you can read Six of Crows without having finished the Grisha trilogy, and I'm honestly so tempted because I really want to meet Kaz and Inej and that gang. I know people love them so much, and I feel like I have missed out on so much of the hype not having read this yet. So definitely a very high priority. I really like Leigh's writing style. I gave Shadow and Bone a 4 out of 5 stars. I recently read Ninth House and I absolutely loved it, so I love the way that her style has evolved in writing, but I'm excited to delve back into her young adult voice and finally pick up Six of Crows. Next up we have Cross Your Mind, and that is a book that you could not stop thinking about. For this I am picking City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare because let me tell you, this entire last book, it had such a strong start to it that it really hooked me right away. So the entire time that I was reading this book, I was so intrigued and I was like, wait, I really want to pick it up again and see what happens next. It was very fast paced. There were a couple very slow points in it, but they really only lasted for like 10 pages each. The rest of the book, for as long as it is, I found it to be super fast paced. I finished it a lot quicker than I had originally thought I was going to. But yeah, this was just, as soon as I put it down, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It really kind of like haunted me. And I was like, I really finally need to finish this. But as soon as I did, now I still can't stop thinking about it, honestly. So City of Heavenly Fire, definitely, it's always on my mind, honestly. Next up we have New Angel, and it was a very anticipated release that you picked up as soon as it came out. And for this I am going to talk about the beauty that is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. I'm so sorry, there's gonna be a lot of Sarah J Maas in this video. She's my favorite author, we all know this. But Crescent City, this is again a very anticipated release that as soon as she announced that she was writing it, and as soon as I kind of heard the premise to it, I was like, I need to get on that. I really need to read it. So I had pre-ordered it, and the day it came out I started reading it. I'm still in the middle of it, absolutely loving it. My reading vlog should be up here in the next couple of weeks, so look out for that. But definitely one of the most highly anticipated releases probably ever for me, and so far it is not disappointing. Next up we have No Judgment, which is a book you love that is popular to hate, and the last Sarah J Maas book, I promise, but for this I am picking Throne of Glass. Some of you may know this really is my favorite book of all time. It just looks so used. There's a note card in here. I just found my autograph card from Stephanie Garber for the finale book. I don't know how it got in here, but here it is. Huh, that was weird. Anyways, so this is a book that honestly, it was another one that I really couldn't stop thinking about, but it was one that just, as soon as I entered this world and met these characters, I was so enthralled, I was so hooked. But yes, it is very popular for people to hate. A lot of people don't like Sarah J Maas's writing style, they don't like her characters, they really don't like Selena. But I love her, she's my girl. A very popular book to hate, but one that I honestly cannot get enough of. Next up we have San Francisco, and just like the city itself, I wanted to pick a book that has a lot of twists and turns, just like the streets of downtown. And for this I am going with Caraval by Stephanie Garber, which is really ironic because we just found that autograph card. But this is a book that, again, it's another one that really, as soon as it captures your attention, it didn't let me go, because it is very plot twist centered over what's a game, what's not a game, what's real, what's fake, etc, etc. But oh my goodness, the plot twists in this one I thought were really well done, because they warn you from the beginning, you know, it's just a game, but your mind kind of tricks you as you're reading it. And so I thought that part was really well done. So this is definitely probably, I think, the most plot twist driven book that I have ever read, and I absolutely love it. So finally we've reached the last prompt in this tag, which is the final track on the album called Still, and it is a book you read a long time ago that is still one of your favorites. For this I am picking The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan. It would not be Live to Read video if I didn't mention Uncle Rick. And this is the final book in the Percy Jackson series. It was another one that as soon as it came out, I jumped on it, grabbed it, flew through it, and to this day it really, like, it holds such a special place in my heart, because it's the original conclusion. When I read it, we didn't know that Heroes of Olympus was going to be a thing, or that he was actually going to expand this world as much as he did. So I honestly, yeah, I thought this was going to be the final book that I ever saw Percy Jackson in, and that broke my heart. And so to this day, I was like, I'm getting chills kind of talking about this, how much this book really meant to me, and getting to see like all of my favorite heroes have this big conclusion. I want to say this might have actually been the first conclusion book to a series that I ever read. I finished the Percy Jackson books before I even read the Harry Potters, which, if you know me, that's a big thing because I really do credit Harry Potter as being with my childhood, but I did finish the Percy Jacksons first. So yes, a very, very special place in my heart for this one, and a spot that will probably always be there. Alright, and there you have it, guys. That was this original book tag inspired by Niall Horan's Heartbreak Weather. I really hope you did enjoy it. If you want to listen to that album, I will have it linked down below because it is beautiful. Before I go, I do want to tag a few friends to do this. I want to tag Rebecca over at The Demure Blonde. I want to tag Kay from Cappuccino and Kat from Rustic Pages. And if you like this video and you want to do this tag yourself, then boom, you've been tagged. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more from me, and you can also click that bell icon down below to be notified every time I post a new video, because I do upload every Monday and every Thursday on this channel, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!